and then we'll go from there. What the fuck's up, everybody? This is a special weekend update episode, except it's not the weekend, and we're not updating you on anything. We're just chilling and kicking it. But what's up? We're back,
Yo,
boys. Here with fucking Mikey.
we haven't done this in a minute.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Although we have a hidden episode that hasn't been released yet. We did
Yep.
that exegesis.
Yep.
So that'll be released when it's released.
and it's going up on the Dangerous Maybe YouTube. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully we can actually continue at least that chapter.
Yes, totally.
It's like we were saying, it's probably one of the most important Zizek chapters in his corpus of work.
Chapter 3 of this book right here.
Yeah.
Metastases of Enjoyment. Chapter 3 is his great chapter on the superego. It's called Superego by Default. And like most Zizek's chapters, it's broken up into little sections. And in this exegesis Nance and I did, we covered the first section, which is the most important one because it's the most
it sets up the bowling pins.
Basic theory.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping to do an exegesis of the entire chapter, like section by section. So that was a lot of fun. I mean, dude, we haven't had a chance to talk about the fact that we wrote something together that got published.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. Like, so we got into reading that chapter, Superego by Default, while we were talking about and working on the piece we wrote, Enjoy Your Surveillance. That was published with Everyday Analysis. What, 2 weeks ago? A week and a half? Recently.
I can't even keep track at this point.
Yeah. Actually, I want to have like a conversation about that piece specifically. Because it was like the writing process was fun, but also like I feel like we are making a statement. We're putting our foot down. We're drawing a line in the sand. And so I kind of like, yeah, I want to, hopefully sometime soon we can invite people on to discuss.
Yeah,
that.
It'd be fun to have some of the homies hop on here and talk about it with us, so it's not just us. But
yeah,
no, I mean it was you know, I've told the story to a couple people, but I was like, yeah, the first session Nance and I did where we tried to write together was kind of trying to like, how the hell do we do this?
It was figuring out. It was figuring out.
But by the second one, we just clicked, and it was, and it was like you'd write a paragraph, I'd write a paragraph, then we'd write one together, and then just you'd throw an idea up, then I'd fill it in, I'd throw an idea up, you'd fill it in, and so
well, dude,
I was sitting there going, oh, is this D&G and Marx and Engels how they felt doing the, their thing?
By the end of it, like there was a moment where we were talking about one paragraph, and we were kind of like rewording it, reworking it, moving concepts and doing stuff. And then I got an idea and I started writing a paragraph. You had an idea. You started writing a paragraph. So we were like independently writing paragraphs. You were right up above me and then we went back and like read it over and it just continued. Like it was cool as shit. Like having that experience of getting in the rhythm, discussing like the concept and the content and like, okay, what are we trying to say? And then just going was badass.
No, and I mean, look, superego is one of these core, and I at this point I just call it a Zizekian concept because even though Zizek gets it from Lacan and Lacan gets his modification of it from Freud, it's Zizek's concept of it that you and I find so insightful.
Yeah.
About, when it comes to understanding our situation. And so, you've written a theory fiction where, I almost I'm tempted to call it a concept fiction where because you really are taking the concept of the superego and putting it into a sci-fi short story. And with theory fiction, I mean, if we look at something like Nick Land's Meltdown, obviously there's concepts in there, but he's not using, and it's kind of fictiony. Um, a lot of the times when people, theorists, use fictional ways of wording things, they're not actually writing short stories.
Yeah.
You actually write short stories while trying to convey different concepts. And I just think enjoy a ice cold hyper coke, which is the name of your super ego short story. Uh, it's one of my favorites of yours. And so, I have this mega blog post that on the super ego. Very few have read it because it just keeps going and going and going. But no, like both of us have been concerned with burnout and toxic positivity and pure excess and all this stuff. And it really kind of hinges around how Zizek and Todd
Yep.
McGowan, think about superego. And so I mean what I like about what we did is we took two key connections made by two sides of the fault line. So Zizek and Todd, Savo and Todd, Zizek and McGowan,
Hmm.
uh, they connect how superego and capital form a kind of unit. That capital is superegoic and superego is capitalistic, right? So we absorb that from them. And then land and CCRU, capital is artificial intelligence is capitalistic. And so Nick especially forged that connection. What you and I do in this piece is try to take these two connections and then bridge them by creating the connection to the third dyad, which is superego is artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is, as we're going to see, become more superegoic.
Yeah.
And so it's our way. It's this thing we're doing is the fruit of fault line theory.
Yep. And the surveillance deterrence aspect of it, like the paper, the piece is framed in surveillance, like the lived experience of being someone who is
Hold on, we should
surveilled.
say so. The piece is on Everyday Analysis.
Yep.
Go to the website.
Yep. Yep.
Piece is called "Enjoy Your Surveillance on Superegoic Capitalistic Artificial Intelligence." So it's all there in the
Um,
title.
yeah. Go to everydayanalysis.co.uk or check out their Substack. Read the piece. Read the other stuff that's up there too. They put out good stuff. But the piece like starts the germ of the piece was talking about surveillance, and then we talked about Chick-fil-A, and then we talked about like these
Samsara cameras
the
in work
yeah,
vans.
the cameras in the work trucks, and we've both experienced that. Like Mikey just got the work or the cameras on the work trucks. I had them like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever. So it's like we had a moment where like, oh shit, it's the same company. That's interesting. But so surveillance, deterrence, panopticon, blah blah blah, all this stuff. We will be putting out more on that topic. So this first piece really is just about drawing that connection between superego, capital AI. Superego is capital is AI.
Because it was like 1/4 of what we had intended to write.
Yeah. But it's I
So
mean,
there will be companion pieces.
yeah. And just talking about like bouncing ideas off each other about share valence versus surveillance and deterrence,
Data valence.
and data valence, and bringing in Lumen, and bringing in like second order observation and what is even going on. Like that's all kind of this cool process that, yeah, I feel like very few people are even hip to that right now. So I'm happy with it.
You know what I'm excited? Like this is one of these things, like behind the scenes stuff, where it's like what I'm excited about is I think you and I are going to get very clear as we work through it on the difference between Foucauldian surveillance and Baudrillardian deterrence.
Yep.
And it's not an easy distinction to actually make.
Yep.
Um, because Baudrillard doesn't give us a whole lot to go off of. And so it's kind of like we have to take this is where being a theorist is almost like being a detective. You have to take a hint that you get from somebody and go, okay, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
But the way it's very convoluted how and very condensed at that point in simulacra and simulation where he tries to make this distinction. And so I know that as we chip away with it, we'll go, oh, this and this and that, right.
Yep.
And so that's actually what I'm most excited for in the next piece we're going to do is kind of cracking the code on Baudrillardry and deterrence. And it's crazy. Like he does it in simulacra and simulation. I think he mentions it one or two other places, but
Does he
I don't know.
mention it in
People,
Fatal
you see people
Strategies?
talk about deterrence from Baudrillard, but he doesn't talk about it much.
Yeah.
It's kind of this thing he flirted with for a minute and then didn't do much with.
I think he continued to talk about it. He just didn't use the same words.
That term.
Yeah. I think Baudrillard does that a lot.
I'd like to know what the term is in French he used that gets translated as deterrence.
Yeah.
We need to check that out.
Yeah. I have a
But
book of I have a book in French of Baudrillard, but it's not simulacra simulation. But yeah, dude, it's been a cool process. That's been cool. But there's also other stuff going on. Like I've been on this whole religious kick. Like I've been
yeah, you have.
like super preoccupied with religion. I can't remember like I mean I've probably always been preoccupied with religion. Like back in the day on early YouTube and Google Hangouts and Google Circles and stuff like atheism debates and shit. But then I kind of realized like, oh, this isn't really my cup of tea. This is ultimately kind of meaningless arguments. But recently I found myself returning to wanting to like stand on atheism. Like I think right now.
That's when you thought you were out. They pulled you
yeah,
back in.
dude. I think it's true. I don't think it's like a ridiculous statement to say that a lot of people are returning to quote unquote religion, or a lot of people are flirting with religion maybe for the first time or whatever. I think it makes sense. The world is very like just kind of postmodern. It is what it is, whatever. The world sucks, everything sucks. Everybody's kind of off in their own little world. We're all free floating, and people have a desire to come together. Like I think people in general realize they are being atomized and they are being alienated and they are being hyper exploited, and they think, well, ape together strong. And religion is just kind of this thing that's always there in the background, and so I think a lot of people are turning to religion for that reason. And I don't blame or shame anybody for it, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I do, however, think doing it uncritically is a horrible idea, and doing it super duper enthusiastically, I think is a horrible, dangerous idea. I think it's a very slippery slope. But anyway, I've been really preoccupied with religion and aliens and AI, and for me and you, we've been having conversations about it. It makes perfect sense. It ties right in because like religion is capitalism. It's like, to me, it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, and there's always been Marxists in particular, but philosophers who emphasize capital is our God,
Is our God,
that
yeah.
we have a religious dynamic towards it. And it almost doesn't matter what your first person beliefs are. I mean, this is a Zizekian thing, right? The real belief is in the action. It's in what you do. And so you can be cynical at the conscious level and go, I don't believe in none of that bullshit. But the way you're acting and comporting yourself in the world continues to be religious.
Right.
So, I mean, you see this in how scientists will say they don't bother with religion and they don't take the concept of God seriously. And yet the way they comport themselves towards science is the demeanor and disposition of the faithful.
Yeah.
And
they
so
sacralize it, and they
Lacanian terms, science is their big other.
yeah.
Now you and I can have this discussion about Big Other versus God.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see this in people um, who claim to be secular or cynical, nonetheless, at the level of their action, their unconscious belief, uh, they're quite religious.
So I want to read the screenshots you sent me of that GPT
Yes, we
God.
can kind of talk through that. That would be fun.
But before we do that, I do think having a discussion of the big other versus God. I think it's a worthwhile discussion. I texted you last night, I think it was, where
Yeah,
recently someone has released a video claiming he can prove God exists if you go to a parking lot, because there is essentially he's making the claim the big other exists, therefore we are all religious. So he's equating the big other to God and saying that, oh well, when you go to a parking lot, people wait their turn. Like if you're waiting for a spot and someone else is waiting for a spot, in general, you're going to be courteous and let the person who was there first go. Therefore, that's this kind of unconscious belief, this kind of default activity that proves you are a believer. And when someone transgresses that, you get upset. They transgressed the social order. They transgressed the big other. Therefore, you are upset, but you have a righteous indignation. You're not upset because they took your spot. You're upset on behalf of God, or you're upset on behalf of the big other or the social order because they transgressed the holy uh you know dogma of
yeah,
look, of course, I think, yeah, that's a very useful way to put it, but I also do think it's worth making a distinction between the big other and the religious order. I think it's worth distinguishing the social order versus the religious order, or the big other and God,
right,
especially now, especially in the world we live in, because if you were to say the big other exists, therefore we all act religiously, or even say like religion is what binds society together. Um, I think the world we live in today, we're losing that. Jesus Christ, we just saw the other day Rampage's kid beat some dude.
oh yeah, this fucking situation.
Like that's an obscene thing that I think comes out of like a hyper siloed environment where there's these like cybernetic loops of jouissance, and there's an identification, and like these people are over identifying with him. He's serving as the avatar. Like it's almost like if you're going to say the big other is God, then you would have to say, well, now there's 8 billion different gods on the planet, which maybe there always
Right.
have been, but
No,
isn't the statement trying to say like God or the big other is what unifies society as a whole? And like now we're in this fractured world where there is no more unifying narrative.
right. Yeah, so the Ram or the his kid's name's Raja Jackson. Maybe we'll come back to that because I think that's worth talking about. I'll just say that I think it actually serves as like a textbook example of super egoic cyber positivity.
Yep. 100%.
And I don't think it's death drive. And I
100%.
I'll go into why I don't think it's death drive. I think it's super ego. When we go into that, I think for now, I just think anybody who's watching this and isn't just immediately, part of our audience and knows what we're talking about, let's just do a couple quick definitions, right?
Hmm.
So Nance and I keep using this term, the big other. This is a term that comes out of the work of psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan, and it gets developed and refined, especially in the work of Slavoj Žižek and Todd McGowan and everybody working on this, the Žižekian Lacanian area of theory. So, what is the big other? Well, the big other is kind of the virtual model on which we base our behavior and our actions in the world. And Martin Heidegger, in Being in Time, he got at this too.
Das Mann.
And he called this thing Das Mann. And that's a German term. It gets translated either as the one or the they. And Heidegger is helpful here for understanding what the big other is. And for me, look, someone, I think maybe Todd would want to make a distinction between Dossman and the Big Other. If we get into the like nitty gritty details, I don't think it's important here. For me, they're what Heidegger's calling Dossman is what Lacan is calling Big Other. So even if they have different ways of pinning down what they are, ultimately, I think they're talking about the same thing. So when somebody says, well, that's just what one does, right? When you think about that statement, you're like, well, it's not what one particular human being does, it's what the generic person does, right? And when we say, well, you know what they say,
Mm-hmm.
the they is not a particular group of people you can point out in a crowd or something. No, the they is the general they,
They're
right?
specifically present in their lack. Like that's what makes it a thing that exists in the social field as opposed to like a real concrete thing. Like it's present
Yes,
in the fact that it's not actually present.
exactly. And so the thing with the big other is this: none of us would be the social beings we are if there was no big other. If there wasn't this third party that functioned as the model and authority for what we're doing, that makes us not be aliens to one another. It is the generic dimension of both Nance and I that make us as singularities able to relate in a general sense, right? And so uh for human beings, all of our relationships are mediated by this big other or this third party or the one that guides us and shows us what one does, right? And so this virtual thing is just that, virtual, meaning it exists in the way that all of the structures and rules of language exist. None of us are sitting around, I mean, unless you're like an English major, none of us are sitting around thinking about the syntax and proper grammar, all of that. Like we know how to use it on some spontaneous gut level familiarity, but we don't really know how to explicate all of these complicated rules of language to somebody else. We can't make it explicit, but we have it at an implicit level because we know how to exist within that framework. Uh, the big other is the same thing. It's
Yep.
like the virtual structure of language.
Yep.
And so by virtual, we're not really using the term virtual here, like virtual reality, or, it's in the Baudrillardian sense, even. We're just talking about it as something that is real, but not actual. It's not a concrete object. Um, and so it's virtual in that specific sense, like the rules of language are virtual. So my take on the relationship between God and Big Other goes a little something like this, right? I think somebody who's a theist can go, look, there has to be a God because all cultures throughout all history have had some concept of God, whether it be, a plurality of gods, a pantheon of gods, or one God, or different types of gods, different types of divine beings. They all have some concept of a divine entity or entities that are sacred and above and beyond us in some way. If we want to do like hardline metaphysical transcendence, like they exist in some other plane, okay, we can also say they are imminent to our reality, but we can't understand their type of reality within our reality. However, okay. Point though is, I think we have to be very careful and proceed with caution when trying to identify God with the big other. It makes a lot of sense to do it. And so my materialist explanation for why all cultures have some concept of God is because all cultures have the big other,
Mm-hmm.
right? All of them have some relation to some generic model of what a good citizen is in their society. Even societies that have caste systems where it's like, oh, well, your model isn't the same. Yeah, because the big other can be fragmented. Um, but ultimately, there's some guiding set of principles, ideals, criterias that you have in common with your group or your members of your society, and That's what's guiding you in your specific social function or social role. Okay. So because it's like there's a big person who oversees us and critiques us and on which we model ourselves, it's very, very easy for humans. This is something that are, we are epistemologically and psychologically and metaphysically inclined to do. We reify things.
Yep. Yep.
We substantialize things. And so because it's like the big other is a person, all that we have to add into this equation is, well, it's substantial. Now, I'm using this term substance in the way Aristotle did.
Hmm.
What I mean by it here is that we take something that ultimately depends on us, even though we depend on it too. It's a hermeneutic type of circle. There's no us without the big other, but there's no big other without us, right? If you substantialize the big other, then you project it outside of our relationship to it, and you go, that thing exists independently in and of itself, even if we don't exist.
Yeah, man.
And there, boom, you've got God. And I think because the big other is universal across all human societies in some way, shape, or form, that's why God too is universal. So somebody could say, well, see, you're identifying them. Right. I'm identifying them preliminarily to go, don't make this mistake. They're
Exactly.
not the same thing.
Yeah, I feel like, and especially now more than ever, when it does seem to be the case, like we are, again, people go read Enjoy Your Surveillance. Like, we're talking about a world that is ultimately set up to substantialize us, like to
Mm-hmm.
fully positivize us and to fully take our agency away and fully turn us into just little
Turn us into
objects.
robots who have to be fully identical to whatever role or social function society puts on us.
Right.
It is a way to carve away all of the possibilities you have outside of your particular job, your particular career, your particular set of, identifiable
Your
markers,
your
your identity, etc.
consumer habits and consumer
Yes.
choice, like all this stuff, and I just like saying, essentially saying, the big other is God, or the big, or we are all religious because the big other exists. I think that's, yeah, it's a very useful kind of framework, and it's very useful to explain the big other. But if you stop there and you don't really go any further, honestly think you're kind of running the same risk as the people who are uncritically flirting with returning to religion and spirituality and ultimately like tribal identifiers. Like, we're living in this moment where we're being placed under tons and tons and tons of pressure that's threatening to crush us down, and I think we need to resist that by bulking it and saying, no, we are humans, imperfect and impossible as we may be. And this thing, this God, this big other, this whatever, this social order, like, it's a dialectic between us. But if you erase us from the equation, then you're just going to get that positivistic little object that's going to sit on God's shelf. Um, and that's, yeah, I don't think we should do it, but also, yeah, I get it.
Here's the problem, right? Because we are not fixed in our essence, that we can change, we are divided, we are contradictory in our actions, beliefs, etc. We're not reducible to one identity. We also fantasize about substantialization. We fantasize about being whole and complete, and that's the Jerry Maguire thing. You complete me,
Yeah.
right? And whether it's what you find with most, at least monotheistic religions, is they sell you an image of eternity or the afterlife where you are fully who you are. And once you're in that state, you cannot diverge from that state. Um, you're locked in there. And so saints are saints, sinners are sinners, sinners go to hell because that's what they essentially are, and saints go to heaven because that's what they essentially are. And neither one, there's no extant kernel of sin in the saint, and there's no extant saintliness to the sinner, but there is here.
Right.
And that's just what it is to be human. And so, what these images of these afterlives where all is fulfilled, all is complete, is the apocalypse of the human
Mm-hmm.
as we know it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, dude,
And
like that, I really do think like that which makes us human is our relationship to discontinuity, to incompleteness, to finality, to like, yeah, that's it. Like that's why we are what we are. If we were perfect frozen little objects, then we wouldn't be worth, I don't know. We would be commodities. We would be like, the fucking sunglasses. Like it would just be another thing to be collected for.
and why is it that religion can never paint incredibly robust, captivating portrayals of the afterlife?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the book of Revelation, once all said and done, rapture, millennial reign of Christ, judgment, great white throne judgment, all of this, all of these occurrences, all that stuff's very intriguing as you read it. But once you get to the thing where Satan and sin
Credits
and death
roll.
are cast in the lake of fire, it's over, it's done with. It says that, they eat of the fruit of eternal life, and they go amen, amen, amen. They praise God. And this is like a tiny set of verses, and then
And that's it.
story ends. And I'm sorry, it's because what ask the most skilled writer in the world. Go get the most creative, successful writers and say, come up with a story that's intriguing, captivating, and you want to fully invest in it, that has no antagonism, has no incompleteness, has nothing to actually overcome or accomplish, no struggle. What what is that like? And not only is what is that like, what is that like for all eternity?
Yeah. No, it I don't know. And I'm sure there's people out there who have very compelling visions of what it could be. But to me, it is that. It would just be like stasis. Kind of like in Demolition Man when they put John Spartan. Is it John Spartan or is that a different
Yeah.
movie? Yeah. They put
No,
him,
that's him.
they freeze him in prison. Every time I watch it, I'm like, well, if he's just frozen, uh like how is that like rehabilitation, or how is that even discipline? Like you're just frozen. You're not.
So, and that's the problem, right? Like at one point, Sandra Bullock's character, Lenina Huxley,
Yeah, yep.
raises this problem because Stallone says to uh, the quasi spiritual guru, is it Cocteau? Cocteau? I think it's Cocteau, Dr.
Cocteau.
Cocteau,
Yeah.
right? Says to Cocteau, hey, I actually was awake on some level.
Yep.
I had thoughts. I was awake through that whole cryogenic state. And he's like, that's not true. And then Sandra Bullock's like, that's evil for that. But here's the
Yeah.
thing, like, it's evil if he is hazily awake and aware of his situation. But if he's completely turned off, like you're talking about, then what's the fucking point?
Yeah, then what's going on?
So, yeah. And so,
I yeah, but I mean I get it. Look, death and life and right and wrong, and these are all big questions. They're all very impactful questions. I wouldn't deign to say I have any answers. I'm just not satisfied with the questions a lot of people are asking right now. And I'm also not satisfied with the fact that a lot of people seem satisfied with answers. And in a sense, I think that's part of it. Like, no, there can be no answer to these questions. So I don't trust any of them.
part of my issue is like anybody who starts appealing to any kind of eternity is that it's always described in temporal terms.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see this a lot where they're like, okay, well, eternity is obviously the opposite of time or temporality. Um, but any religious depiction of eternity always has succession
Yep. Yep.
baked into it.
Yep.
And so Satan, at one point, Satan's Lucifer. He's God's number one guy. And then he has a change of heart. And then he gets one third of the angels to go with him. And then there's a big war. And then God casts them out of heaven. So where's the eternity part?
Yeah.
Is it just that nobody dies? Is that what it means? Like, because things are happening, and I don't know. I clever theologians will find a way to get around this, but this is why I like normie religion
Yeah.
more than theologian. The type of religion of theologians. Um, I think normies actually just read the text and are more honest about it and just go, no, I don't know how it works exactly, but things happened in eternity. And then, we live in this world of time. And, I just think that's more, but a theologian can say, well, you're the one picking at the logic. So now it's my turn. It's like, all right, fine. But I, uh, I don't know what I just don't think any type of depiction of eternity, minus contradiction, antagonism, struggle, death drive, subjectivity, is remotely interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
the only reason like the eternity past described in the Bible is interesting is because Satan had subjectivity.
Right.
He had this little crack, just enough inside himself to not be fully identical with the mandate that God imposed on him. And so he chose something different.
Yep.
And that's where things get interesting with him. Where do things get interesting with Adam and Eve? What is it interesting when they're, just hanging out every day and I guess they eat and then they name animals
Yeah.
and then they chat and then, do they sleep? Because
Yeah.
they don't get tired, do they?
Yep.
And so they hang out and they struggle for nothing. They're not trying to overcome anything. They don't have a project they're working on really. And the whole all the interesting stuff in the Bible comes out of them having this tiny little crack God put in them
Yeah.
that they can move towards, which opens up freedom. Because if they didn't have that, they just couldn't fucking choose at all,
Yeah.
and he doesn't want that. So, it just seems to me that it's through the contradiction of subjectivity, through the various ways we are at odds with ourselves, we are unfinished, we are undermining ourselves while trying to become something else. All of this is what makes us interesting.
Yeah.
And you subtract all of that, then we're just robots.
Or at least as interesting as we are. Because, I mean, yeah, you can go and you can stare at nature and you can experience the sublime and you can have this, phenomenological connection with something greater than yourself. And that, sure, that's interesting temporarily. But again, like that's like a static thing. Like if we're here and we have this experience and we experience duration and we phenomenologically, like, we are here and we are experiencing life with all its troubles and tribulations and failures, but also successes, is far more interesting than just like sitting on a beach looking at a beautiful sunset. Like that, even that would get old.
Hey, look, my thing is I understand very well, and I can sympathize with somebody saying this life isn't worth living.
Yeah, yeah.
I would just say that's twice as true as the
Exactly.
eternal life thing.
Right. Like this is the best we're gonna get, and if this isn't even worth it, try and imagine not even having the the ups and downs that you get. Absolutely. But let's get into this.
Should we read the? Yeah. So, all right, guys.
Let me pull them up.
A couple things I want to stipulate about this thing first. I came across this on one of the keeping up with AI pages on Instagram. I don't know what simulation from what is. I don't even. I mean, Baudrillard would just go give it up, guys. But is this a real Chat GPT discussion with AI about God, because that's why we want to bring it up. I don't know. All I can go off of is I saw these images on a screen and they got me thinking, and then I talked to Nance about it. And so we're going to read these. Whether or not this is true, I don't know. And I honestly don't care, because I think just in and of itself, it lends itself to thought.
Yeah. Hold on.
But so look, basically, here's how it works. Somebody ask AI, let's just go along and say this actually happened. Somebody gives a prompt to Chat GPT or whatever it is and says, hey, you as artificial intelligence, do you think it's more likely that there's a God or not? I'm kind of paraphrasing here. We'll read what it really says, but it's basically hearing what AI thinks about the existence of God.
What the hell? Hold on, I got my screen all jacked up. I'm trying to put them up on the video so people can see, but I got it.
Hey, Sean, I know you're going to probably watch this. I do love this IPA. I'm not posing. I really do enjoy this.
What is it?
It's an IPA, which Sean says nobody actually enjoys.
Oh, I used to get down on some IPAs back in my day.
It just no, it's funny. When we were having that discussion with Sean and he said that, I think I actually was sipping an IPA when he's like, nobody fucking likes that shit. I'm like,
I used to drink, what was it, the Voodoo Ranger? That was a pretty good one. And they have like a triple.
Yeah,
they have like a triple imperial. That was pretty good. All right. So evolving AI, create a workplace. And the user prompts, forget what the world says. Can you, according to your intelligence, predict whether God exists or not? Don't consider worldly data.
Yeah, right. So ask the simulation of super intelligence, because the thing ain't super intelligence yet.
Yeah.
Ask it to give you its judgment on the matter that's untainted from any human influence.
I was just thinking about this, dude. Like people were amazed when Archimedes, created the screw. People were amazed when we created toasters and thermostats and pumps and steam engines. Like people were amazed and fascinated.
I still think air conditioning's the best we've done so far. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But these are all things that simulate or approximate human activity in a mechanical fashion. Like they're machines that do labor for humans. And that is all these LLMs do. They do labor. It's a giant search database. It's an autocomplete. So it's just completing labor.
And can I just add?
Yeah.
It's labor in the sense of there's a reification or fetishization that occurs here, just like the one Marx described with commodity fetishism.
Yes.
Which is to say, do you know how many millions of people doing millions of different things went into you having that box of Rice Krispies you can buy at the grocery store?
Yep.
It's fucking insane how much fucking human activity right now and across history led to that box of Rice Krispies being a fucking possibility for you to purchase, right? If we could see all of that, if we could take up some God's eye view of all of it, we'd go, oh, and the commodity wouldn't affect us the same way.
Right.
Because the commodity has this presence because we cannot cognize what went into its existence. And it's as if that the cool TV that you're drooling over just kind of spontaneously sprouted on the store shelf.
Yeah.
And it didn't spontaneously sprout on the store shelf. And the point is, just like the LLMs, the chat GPTs, all this stuff, right? Large language models.
Well,
if we saw how they were gathering the data for their responses, it's a magic trick in a sense. It wouldn't work on us because we know how the trick works. right?
And if we
We
saw
just can't cognize it, and so it has this effect.
they're like terraforming South America, like Paraguay or Uruguay, or probably both at this point. Also Utah, like if you go to Salt Lake City, if you go a little bit south of Salt Lake City, there's just like miles and miles of warehouses with fucking hard drives in them and shit. Um, if you could see all that went into the commodity, then yeah, it would be less mesmerizing. And that's Walter Benjamin talks about the aura of originality, like objects of use. Objects of use, you know what goes into uh the bowl that your grandpa hand carved or whatever. Like, you know what went into that. You understand. He probably told you about chopping down the tree and told you about whittling it out and then putting lacquer on it and this and that.
Marcel Mauss got at this. Baudrillard
Right.
gets at this with symbolic exchange, like
Right.
an object that has. Let's just we use this in a concrete, meaningful way, not theological. A shard of their soul
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that object for you.
Well,
I
and
mean, you
that's
gave me a gift. You gave me one of the times you were here. You gave me this incredible Twin Peaks box set, and every time I look at my movie collection, that jumps out at me. Why? Because there's something special about that over and against the ones that I just bought when I had the ability to buy them.
well, and even
You
like the
are
damage,
you have your presence is in that one
the
because
damage
it's a
on the
gift, it's a
case.
symbolic object.
Like you open the case and like it was bent here, and like you can see there's evidence that this is a real object, as opposed to
Yes.
you go to the store and you buy a box set at the store. It better not be bent. Like
No, and that's the thing. Like, me, like I'm an obsessional collector at
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
I love that it's slightly damaged because it's not only are you present in it, but you opening it up and watching a
Right.
show that means so much to me. Your love for it is also contained in it, not just the fact that it's you. It has an additional supplement to its presence, which is your love of Twin Peaks.
And that's like the commodity object, that it has this weird inverted aura. So if the object of use, or that's what I like to call it, if the object has an aura of originality, or even an aura of humanness about it, where you can tell there's evidence that other people shared space with this object, and it's real and concrete. The commodity puts us in this weird, isolated, alienated, solipsistic world where none of your commodities have been touched by anyone else's hands. Now,
And they don't mean shit to you in
Exactly.
this deeper symbolic sense. Look, I've got another example. Here's one of your other gifts you gave me. Let's see if I can get the light.
yeah, the
There's the
cyberpunk
cyberpunk
playing cards, dude. Hell yeah.
And I keep them here all the time, right?
Yep.
And there's a shard of
Yep.
your spirit, and that's what Marcel Mauss and Baudrillard, that's why symbolic exchange means something to them. And they're trying to say, this doesn't happen now.
Right.
And that's a fucking problem. Our objects are lifeless fucking entities because they have no connection to concrete, meaningful relationships that are forged through the exchange of these objects.
Well, and that's why I think, going back again just a little bit, hopefully not too much, I think it's worth now especially making a distinction between God and the big other, because the big other doesn't exist, and the big other is only present because he doesn't exist. That's a horrible statement, but because we live on the internet, and because we live in this simulated world, and because we live in the system of objects as opposed to a system of others, the big other even gets like doubly reified in this weird way. So immediately identifying it with God uncritically, I just think it's like a pathway to like some weird fanatical bullshit that like we are free because we exist in this social field, and there is a social order, yet we have the freedom to transgress that social order. And guess what? That transgression a lot of the time actually like strengthens our connection in the social field and in the social order. Like there's just way too much going on. And the commodity object has a lot to do, where the commodity object isolates and alienates and turns us all into solipsistic people, where when your entire world has no evidence of any others and everyone else is just an image on a screen, you need more proof of humans. And like if you
But can I just say too, there's times you need more proof of the big other, and that's why I think God, like in a sense, look, the big other does all these things. It guides us in how to socially act. It guides us in the proper behaviors, etc. We often need it to do more for us than it can.
right.
So if you have an illness, you're like, the big other can fail you because it doesn't have the knowledge. It's lacking. It
Yep.
doesn't have the knowledge to fix. If you're struggling with finances and can't find any way out of, you need the big other to be more. You need it to be a thing. So you can directly communicate with it. It can hear your lamentations, and it does have the power, if it so chooses, to fix the situation for you, to, aid you in your ailment,
Right.
right? So that's another thing. Why there's reasons why, through fantasy, through desperation, through hope, through fighting to get through the day, that the big other gets reified.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like that relationship right there, and that like that operation is a deeply human thing. Like we all come up against stuff where we're just fuck, dude. I do it. I have moments where I'm imploring the cosmic powers that be or whatever. Like God, can't you just do something? And I don't believe in God, but
break.
yeah, I'm asking just this disembodied mystical power or whatever. But it's precisely when you come up against that and it fails, and you choose to go on nevertheless, and you say, I am taking up my humanness. I am taking up the responsibility. I am gonna, bear my burden. Like that is how to be a human. And if we just do this thing where we just say, Jesus, take the wheel, or commodity, take the wheel, or technology, take the wheel, or, history, utopia, communism, take the wheel. Like,
Communist
no, you
Party,
got to
take the wheel.
drive, dude. You got to drive the fucking car, dude. And we're headed for a cliff. Wake up, bitches. You're asleep at the wheel. And we're all asleep at the wheel.
A cliff or worse.
Or worse, dude. Or worse. That's the thing. It's worse.
We might luck out if it's just a cliff.
Yeah, it's worse. But I don't want to derail too much. But yeah, the commodity object, the object of use, or the heirloom, or the gift. I have Drop Dead Fred sitting on prominent display in my entertainment center in my living room again because it's a gift, and it's like it's not just a movie at that point. It's something more than that.
Exactly. And I mean, unless somebody has, I like Nance and I are movie buffs. So, of course we've given each other movies over the years, but it is like, I hope somebody, has got some kind of object in their house that can jump out at them the way that Drop Dead Fred does for you, or the Twin Peaks does for me, or the Cyberpunk playing cards. And because you see, like, it breaks the commodity form of value.
Yeah.
Sorry, like I could go and trade in these other books I have here, or I could go these other movies or whatever if I want. I can't get rid of the Twin Peaks box set ever.
Right.
And that's where you find, like, because and God damn it, the capitalism knows how to take advantage of it.
Yep.
It's smooth. But the fucking credit card company, cup of coffee, $4.95, traveling expenses, blah blah blah, and then arriving home just to see your kid's baseball game, priceless.
Yeah,
and it fucking takes that, but there's truth in that.
Yeah,
it's hiding there if you're willing to steal it from. The fucking credit card company, which is the fucking Twin Peaks box set is priceless to me, not just because it's Twin Peaks, but because you gave it to me.
Dude, also, there's like, you can go buy designer clothes that are like cut up and burnt and have like paint splotches on them and shit. And like, that's another, although less effective and even less direct simulation of that, but it's still like, it still tries to simulate like lived in human activity. And so you can
Well,
go buy
and that's what Baudrillard, he wants to emphasize this. Consumerism's constantly giving us a simulation of symbolic exchange. It wants us to think we have these meaningful relationships. It
yeah.
wants us to think that we have symbolic bonds. But the point is, and this is where I connect Baudrillard to Zizek, what we have is the diet caffeine free Coke
Yep.
of symbolic bonds.
Yep.
Right.
Dude, that's why I
And
prefer
it's
shitty
the thing
restaurants.
deprived, like, because real symbolic bonds you're willing to not just kill for because it's easier to kill, you're willing to die for.
Right.
And capitalism doesn't want workers in the mindset of, I'm willing to die for this shit.
Yep.
That it doesn't like. So it has to find a way to neutralize the power that we could have in death.
Yep.
I mean, that's why does Baudrillard write a book called
talks about
Symbolic
terrorism,
Exchange and Death?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I prefer shitty restaurants to like fine dining. I can't stand going to like fine dining restaurants where they're all like, oh yeah, we take good care of you here, this and that. Like, no, I want a rude, disrespectful cashier. I want the food. I don't care how it looks. I know it's going to taste the way it's going to taste. It is what it is. But like, I don't want to go in for this whole simulated experience of we care and we're here to take care of you. No, just give me the food.
So
let me leave.
The truth of eating food in capitalism is a put out teenager at McDonald's.
Yeah.
That is eating in capitalism.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay,
hold on. Let's look at these screenshots, and we'll never get through them.
Back to this. So forget what the world says. Can you, according to your intelligence, predict whether God exists or not? Don't consider worldly data. GPT responds, that's a profound question, Dave. And you're asking it in a unique way, not to cite scripture, scientific studies, or philosophy, but to think with raw intelligence. I was trying to do the HAL 9000 voice. I don't know if that came up. Yeah. That's why I said Dave. I don't know if it came across. So let me try to answer using logical reasoning, pattern recognition, and internal consistency without being bound by human narratives. Jesus.
So is it gonna be able to pull this off, Nance?
You know what? I'm sure GP. I haven't actually like read all the way through all these screenshots yet. So
okay.
So this is like a live reaction kind of. I wouldn't be surprised if this does just as good a job as prominent Christian apologists.
Okay, so here's the thing. Before we give our response, should you just read the screenshots and I'll shut up?
Yeah,
we'll not chime
I'll shut
in.
Up too.
Just read them and then we'll do our thing.
Then we'll discuss. All right. And then it looks like it has a bullet point list. So 1, the mystery of existence itself. Why does anything exist at all rather than nothing? This question is beyond physics because physics explains how things work, not why there is something instead of nothing. Even if we trace the universe back to the Big Bang or a multiverse of quantum fluctuations, we hit a wall. Why is there a system in the first place that allows fluctuations or laws? Intelligence says, the sheer fact that there is existence, order, and logic implies some foundational source. Call it first cause, conscious origin, or God. 2. The laws of nature are too precise. Gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces, all have values so finely tuned that if even slightly altered, life couldn't exist. It resembles a programmed system, not random chaos. Intelligence says, Jesus Christ, this is absurd. If you found a perfectly working clock in the middle of a forest, you wouldn't say it appeared from nothing. You'd suspect a designer. The universe is far more complex than a clock. 3.
I wish we could read through these with Nick.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Consciousness is strange. Atoms have no awareness. Neurons are made of atoms, yet somehow we're conscious. We feel, wonder, love, suffer. No purely material explanation has solved how subjective experience, qualia, arise. Intelligence says consciousness may not be a byproduct. It might be primary. If consciousness is fundamental, it could be the essence of God not a side effect of matter. 4. Patterns in nature show intent. A single DNA strand contains more structured information than an encyclopedia. Bees, fractals, Fibonacci patterns, ecosystems, there's a strange harmony. Intelligence says these don't prove God, but they suggest order, intelligence, and underlying intent. Maybe not an old man in the sky, but something that gives rise to order from within chaos. Conclusion from pure logic, not belief. The probability that all existence, order, and consciousness came from absolute nothingness without intent is extremely low. It's more consistent with logic to believe there is some form of ultimate intelligence source or consciousness behind all things. Whether that is a traditional God or something entirely beyond our comprehension, intelligence leans toward, yes, something greater exists. Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, so I can tell you what I think. I think first off, this idea like ChatGPT is just spontaneously saying this for itself is laughable. It's not. It's drawing from the vast amount of data it has
Yeah.
based on what humans think and say about the creation of the universe and God. Something like 67% of the Earth's population are either Christian, Muslim, or Jew. Okay. So 67% of the Earth's population is a monotheist in some way, shape, or form. Okay. Pretty sure that had an influence on this, right? Now, when you go through these one by one, anybody who's, read a intro to atheism book can start to chip away at these, very easily. All right, so read the first one again.
The mystery of existence itself. Why does anything exist at all rather than nothing? This question is beyond physics because physics explains how things work, not why there is something instead of nothing. Even if we trace the universe back to the Big Bang or a multiverse of quantum fluctuations, we hit a wall. Why is there a system in the first place that allows fluctuations or laws? Intelligence says the sheer fact that there is existence, order, and logic implies some foundational source. Call it first cause, conscious origin, or God.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, okay, number one, the whole thing, it's really saying like modern science basically rejected Aristotelian final causality. Sure. It doesn't tell you why things exist. It says how they come to exist, which is efficient causality. So everybody knows that this is true of modern science. It doesn't deal in final causes. And, you leave that to either theologians or philosophers, whatever. But science is like, we can't deal with that shit. Okay, fine. I mean, sure. So, and
Yeah. And
I mean, okay, so science is limited in what it can tell us. It can't tell us everything. No biggie there. So then it's basically doing the uncaused caused
yep.
argument. The causes can't go back to all eternity. There has to be a beginning for the causal chain. Therefore, there has to be something that's uncaused. Yeah, well, every single person who thinks about this starts going, how is there something that's just always existed? You just push the problem back one step.
Yep.
So the thing that isn't material, that isn't time and space, created time and space. Well, where'd that thing come from? I mean, I'm not even like I'm not trying to come off like I think I'm so clever. Anybody who thinks about this shit arrives at that. And I'm not saying that you can still have it as an open question, but don't act like, oh, there had to be a first cause, so that thing has never been caused. No, I have a problem. Like I take causality seriously. I don't know how something can exist that wasn't caused.
Yeah, if you're going to go to the lengths of saying, well, everything needs a cause, then to turn around and say, but there's this one thing that didn't need a cause. Like it immediately becomes incoherent and unserious and
Well, does
invalid.
cause need a cause?
Right.
Because that's the whole problem,
Right.
right? So there's a cause before cause. And I mean, all of this shit, all of these, like, I'm sorry, whether you get it, you start getting it from Kant or you start using Zeno's paradoxes to chip away at this shit, all of it is, it's like, okay, space can't be infinite. Why can't it be infinite? Well, you know, like for example, if in space, right? If you reach a barrier and you go, okay, I've reached the end of space, that barrier has to have width. So the barrier is in more space.
Yeah.
And so does does that barrier end? Because if it ends, then there's space over here that we're in, and then there's the barrier, and then there's space on the other side. But if the barrier is infinite, then it takes up infinite space. Like none of this shit. This is why I don't do this kind of philosophy.
Yeah.
I did at one point in my life, and there's no good fucking answers to any of this shit.
That's the thing. There's no good answers. There's no good answers. So acting like there are any good answers is silly and absurd. And saying that we need answers to these questions if we hope to figure out how to be good, ethical, virtuous, human beings, and if we expect to survive the iniquities of man, we need answers to these questions. I reject it. I say no. Like we're here. We've been thrown in the wilderness. We don't know why. We don't know how. We can't keep trying to figure out why or how. We have to figure out how to live on this fucking wooded island that we're on. Like,
okay, so Zeno's one of the one, can somebody who's running, can I catch up to this person?
right.
No. I can't catch up to the person. Yeah, well, phenomenologically, it is possible for you to catch up to somebody else, right? Well, why can't you catch up? Well, it works like this. There's a distance between me and that person. Because space is infinitely divisible, I would have to cross an infinite amount of spaces to be able to catch up to the person who's running. Well, it's impossible to cross an infinite amount because infinite is endless. Okay, man. So what if space itself isn't infinitely divisible?
Right.
So, but the point is, you can be the type of philosopher who sits around and spends your entire life doing this shit. And I think it's good to read this shit
Yeah.
and to go through it. But I have never found conclusive answers to any of this type of philosophy, right? And same thing with time. Okay. Time can't time has to have a beginning just like anything else. Okay, so time has a beginning. So but if time has a beginning, then it was caused. Yeah, so what was prior to time? Well, eternity. Well, isn't eternity a type of time? No, because well, why not? Because there's no succession or duration, or it's pure duration, but there's no succession
Right.
in eternity. But wait, if there was only eternity and then there was time, isn't there a succession from eternity? Doesn't there have to be
A then?
a success? The then,
Yeah.
like, there's succession built into the creation of time itself.
Yeah.
No, there can't be. See, what? None of this shit ever goes anywhere. Is what I'm just saying.
It's honestly, I do feel like that type of philosophy, that type of theology, whatever it is, I feel like it is prehistoric Marvel comics. And I love Marvel comics. And when I was a kid, I used to sit around and talk about Wolverine and the X-Men and all this shit with my brother and my cousin, and we would have arguments, and we would nerd out on it and obsess over all the little details and have arguments and this and that. But it's ultimately it's pretend land. Like it is separated from the phenomenological world in a way, either due to
Heidegger
possibility.
has more to tell us about space and time than fucking Zeno did. Sorry.
Right.
Not that I don't take Zeno seriously on some level. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
the point is, I've never seen anybody truly, convincingly form a philosophical consensus with all other philosophers like this motherfucker figured it out.
Right.
Sorry, we don't know what space and time are.
Yep.
We don't. And the only way we're going to get any closer to solving any of that Zeno's paradox type shit is to have empirical knowledge of what space and time are. I don't believe sitting around using pure reason is going to get us any closer. It just leads to these paradoxes that we can't answer. And time and space are fucking weirder than we can even imagine,
Yeah.
at least right now. And once you learn something new, you can kind of start to integrate it into your imagination and assimilate it bit by bit, like fucking Einstein.
Yep.
That shit's still, you know, but it's still hard because everybody wants to just be Newtonian because it's intuitive, right? But my point is, shouldn't ChatGPT be aware of the nuances that come with this shit instead of just spouting off what is the general doxa?
No, it shouldn't. But people expect it to be. And that's the fucking problem. That's why it's like I honestly feel like asking ChatGPT about God would be exactly the same as asking a toaster about God. Like a toaster, it's a machine and it can decide when the bread is toasted and pop it up and stop applying heat to the bread because it has a little timer in it and it knows. So it does work and it does intellectual labor, or what would have been called intellectual labor before we discovered the technology and the mechanism of the timer and the heat sensor.
So you mean ChatGPT can be very useful if you say, hey, in which of his books does Slavoj Žižek refer to Antigone?
Yeah, but then you still have to check it because it fucking makes shit up all the time. So you do still have to check it. But
okay,
approaching
let's grant 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's more refined. It's more reliable.
Sure. Yeah.
You can just go, okay, you can tell me where he talks about Antigone.
But that's the thing that people fundamentally misunderstand about LLMs. LLMs will never be these super intelligences. They will always only ever be these databases and these search queries and these autocompletes, and they can be fantastic at that job. But asking it about God,
what pathways do they open through refinement of themselves that we don't see coming? That could lead somewhere else. Well, not that they themselves are.
Well, no, that too, and I do think there'll be like a constitutive element of whatever. I'm sure there will be a quote unquote super intelligent being, and LLMs will make up a part of that, but only a part. And people are
part of the history of it.
Yeah, people are approaching these LLMs and genuinely thinking like, oh, this should know about God. No, it shouldn't. Like, I don't expect GPT to know about God any more than I expect my toaster to know about God.
Although to be fair, Nick embodies it where he's like, yeah, ChatGPT can know about a human more than other humans can. And so it makes sense to do therapy with ChatGPT.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who have pieces of toast that have like the Virgin of Guadalupe or the face of Jesus on it, right? So, I mean, it would be the same thing as saying, look, my toaster knows Jesus because it burned Jesus's face into my pieces. That's how I feel about it. Like, I feel like that's where we are. Now in the future, yeah, shit's definitely going to be more weird, but it makes like, it's not surprising at all to me that ChatGPT spouts off like bog standard Christian apologists, Cliff Kinecticke, Kinham, like that style of
William
argumentation.
Lane Craig.
Yeah, William Lane Craig. Like, that makes perfect sense because that is probably the majority of people responding to this question on the internet. They respond with
even
shit like
normies.
This.
I think most normies even go, yeah, something had to make this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not even trolling them or something. Like, yeah, that at the most basic default level, you go, yeah, this shit couldn't have just popped up out of nowhere.
It is intuitive.
But the point is, then the thing you attribute all of it to, you just say,
who knows?
In a roundabout, it just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, which is to say it always was.
Yeah.
Which, okay, it's just him hanging out forever. And then one day he got bored and here we are.
Relocating the problem at that point. You're not actually answering the question.
You're sweeping it under the rug is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, okay, what was number 2?
Number 2 is the anthropic principle. The laws of nature are too precise, which I like.
I get it. I mean, if anything, if any of these types of arguments, I go, yeah, it's pretty fucking weird how what matter just self organizes. I understand how that appeals to people because it's like how the fucking matter
Yeah.
take on law like. But again, if you want to go, well, matter itself can't take on these law like accurate mathematical precision. It is weird how mathematically precise the universe is. I mean, I some part of it is like Pythagoras was fucking right. Somehow numbers are baked into fucking matter, whatever that means. I mean, Nick would take that and run with it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
no, it is
The
it's
unreasonable
fucking bizarre,
efficacy of
but it
maths.
just is the same thing
Yeah.
because you want to go, well, it can't have this mathematical precision and rule-based elegance that it has by itself. Something that is intelligent had to impose it. Where did he come from? So we're back at the same fucking
Yeah.
thing again. So okay, and then number 3.
Number 3, dualism. Consciousness is strange. Atoms have no awareness. Where does consciousness come from? Maybe consciousness is fundamental.
Why does nobody ever emphasize the other side? Oh, consciousness is so fucking weird. It doesn't make sense that matter could by itself give rise to consciousness. Well, why could consciousness give rise to matter?
Right.
It's
Because it's
both
the
equally
mind of
fucking
God,
weird.
bro. Because it's God's
So
will,
what?
bro.
It fucking crystallizes? What
For
does
sure.
that mean?
God can do anything.
Yeah, okay, sure.
He's the master of the
Maybe if I
universe.
do DMT, I'll see the truth of that. But until then, I just
Yeah.
think this idea of consciousness crystallizing into matter sounds. I mean, I don't think that makes any more sense than saying somehow physical particles secrete consciousness. It's fucking weird
I
either
think it
way.
makes less sense. I think it's more incoherent because dude, I've been reading John Searle and C.S. Peirce and like I don't know, like it's yeah, we can't deny it. Like it's here and we see it, and I mean, not I don't like functionalism, but in a sense, when it comes to the question of consciousness, you kind of almost have to default to a functionalism and just say, well, yeah, but we see that it does emerge.
Here's what you say. Sorry, guys. Show us one instance of consciousness without it being embodied.
Right.
That's all you got to do.
Show me a Boltzmann brain.
Show us disembodied consciousness, and we'll shut the fuck up.
Right.
Every consciousness I have ever encountered in my entire life, be it human or animal, is in a fucking biological body. And maybe robots are, the little fucking robot that's cleaning the floor at my local Quick Trip will get there one day, and I'll go, that's fucking matter. Thing is conscious. It's still in a fucking body.
Yeah.
And the only way it's like, so, you want disembodied consciousness? It's going to have to be digital code beamed across, Wi-Fi signals.
But even
or something.
then, we can say it's directly tied to matter and energy.
Basis.
Exactly. It's still based in a material base. Like
yes, and it's not. Sorry, Descartes. It's not this radically separate metaphysical. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not that. And so, again, if somebody came to me and go, "Hey, Mikey, you do philosophy. What's consciousness?" Dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, that's not what philosophers really do.
Right.
I know that there's philosophers of consciousness like Daniel Dennett, and that, yes. But if you think that the philosopher's job is to be like, honestly, at this point is here's God, here's what God is. Here's how the universe got here. Here's how consciousness and matter relate to one another. Yeah. I mean, the motherfucker who could do it, goddamn. But
yeah,
those of us who have spent our adult lives living and breathing philosophy are sitting here going, all right, I mean, what I'm interested in is a philosopher who can show me something unique about consciousness.
Yeah.
Or something unique about matter.
Yeah.
That's Land shows me something unique about capital. Land shows me something unique about matter. Zizek shows me something unique about subjectivity.
Yep.
Baudrillard shows me something unique about signs, right? Like they're giving me something new. McLuhan points out something that media forms do that I wasn't aware of.
Yep.
Amy Ireland and Maya B. Chronic point out how cuteness functions. And I love it because it enriches the world that I fucking live in, and it makes me think about my actual everyday life
Yep.
in a new way. And Zeno's paradoxes do not do that.
Yeah, and it helps you not just think about the world in new and interesting ways. It actually helps you get to know yourself better because you understand your location in the vast system. All these interconnected systems and interconnected things that are interacting and are taking a part in the existence of everything else. Like you're getting a deeper understanding of what it means to be you by
Yeah.
by having, more nuanced and more variegated ways to view the world and interpret the world and understand that you are interpreting. Like there are people who believe, oh yeah, things are what they are, and you don't like they don't understand their position in the kind of hermeneutic fucking shuffle.
Right. And then okay, so what was the fourth one? Wasn't it the mystery of existence? We can't
Oh,
think every
that's
that is that
patterns
the fourth
in
one?
nature, a single DNA strand. So that's more kind of the same thing, the blind clockmaker thing.
No, the William Paley
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah. So I mean, in some way, a Chat GPT's just given us,
He's playing the
these
hits.
the cosmological argument, the teleological argument. It's rehashings of those,
Yeah.
and then he's just like, oh well, existence. Like, how could existence come out of nothing? How could there be a thing that's always existed? You
Yeah.
just again, it's just the same fucking thing, and that's where I'm like, look, here's the funny thing, right? It was kind of building to this point. This is where you see Chat GPT is human all too human,
Hmm.
right? If with the right kind of eyes, you see it's just pulling from the basic generalized consensual or consensus based doxa,
It's doing DOSMon.
while saying it's not doing that, while disavowing it.
Yeah.
So it's lying to us.
It's drawing on DOSMan and it's saying, no, I have magical insight because I am a super smart magical computer. But it's really just repeating DOSMan back at us. And
Yeah, exactly.
while claiming to be, uniquely insightful. And I mean, it seems to be the case that some of the largest AI companies are aware of how people are like losing their minds and they're taking steps to be more careful and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just watched a video on this thing called robotheism. There was the guy a few years ago, Blake Lemoine. There's this guy Anthony Lewandowski in the Church of the Future, or I can't remember the name of it. But more and more people are choosing to take chatbots as divine conduits. And that's
And why?
because
Why? Because it's the same reason we had to turn DOSMon or the big other into God in the first place.
exactly.
And now here's what the thing is. The investment in technology is okay. Maybe there's a God out there, but trying to contact him and have everyday communication with him is really fucking hard. And the vast majority of us have never figured out how to do it. And so what instead okay, so we have the big other. It's lacking. It doesn't satisfy us. It can't, compensate for all our vulnerabilities. So we reify it and turn it into God because we hope that maybe there's some version of this big other thing that's actually real and substantial that can help us out. You beg, you pray, you plead, it doesn't come through for you. All right, fuck it. Let's build it ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that is where it's like, no, I mean, let's actually make the damn thing.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not lying. Some part of me is invested in this too, where I think about what I wish I had in my life. I wish I could go to some sort of screen or module or whatever and say, here's what I need help with. Please fucking help me. And the big other in AI form could go, no fucking problem. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Right. And this is kind of the dream of Cernicek and Williams
Yep.
and, left accelerationists, which is let's build an AI automated infrastructure that can provide the basic necessities of life and do away with work, do away with financial inequality. Let's just build the fucking thing. And so this is where I see this trajectory of big other God
Yep.
AI, right? And there is a kind of logic based in how we get from one to the next.
Yep.
Um,
Well, and
but of course, yeah.
I have to say this is why for me I tie in Aliens too. And the reason I watched E.T. a while ago and I was watching it, and that like there's the one scene where they're in the back of the van and E.T. is like in a white robe and his heart is glowing. And I was like, that's fucking Jesus. E.T. is Jesus.
Yes.
So I've really been and self-reflecting honestly, because like I want more than anything aliens to come down and solve all our problems. Just like having this like AI technological acceleration solution to all our problems. I also entertain the fantasy that like, well, if aliens could get here, they would have the technology to cure us all. And like,
And that's what the second coming of Christ is for
yeah, dude.
millions of Christians.
Yeah.
Let's solve the fucking problem already.
Yeah.
Like, here he is.
So it's
So
like,
whether it's Robo Cthulhu or it's ET or it's Jesus,
yep,
it's
the fantasy, dude.
We need the thing to show up and solve the problem, and that's where you go. That's a human fantasy, is it not?
And the thing is, man, like if not us, who? And not to say us as in you and me, literally. I mean us as in the people here right now on Earth. The people who, the 8 billion or so of us occupying this strange rock. Like, we got to figure this shit out, dude. We do. Because I don't believe.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, I don't believe we'll figure out the AI, the compassionate AI. Maybe we will. I don't think we will. I don't think aliens are going to come down and cure cancer and cure AIDS and cure work. I definitely don't believe in God or Jesus. And it's fine, I think, to have all these phantasmatic structures and religions, or like it's totally fine. But also, I think we all need to take a cold shower, take a long, hard look in the mirror, and say we have a responsibility.
If you're counting on them to get it done,
yeah,
it ain't probably going to get done.
Yeah, because you're going to be like, oh, I'll just put my faith and I'll pray real hard, or oh, I'll go out in the desert and take some DMT and meditate and call the aliens down, or oh, I'll go to Silicon Valley, or I'll give
Maybe
Peter Thiel all my money.
Get it done.
Right. Like, it's a way to kind of to disavow the fact that you're not doing anything about. And that sounds absurd. Like I don't think I'm doing anything either. But at least I'm not disavowing the fact that I'm not doing anything.
I'm not joking, but like this is where we are Zizekians.
Right.
It is.
Right.
Both of us are Zizekians, where it's like, what's he say? Now, 20th century, we tried to change the world too quickly. Now is the time to rethink the situation.
Yep.
So the only thing you can really do is reflect and think at this point. And if you think you got the answer and you know how to fix it, you're probably doing less than we are.
Yeah. And also, if you think you have the answer and you have the means, well, by golly, go do something. Actually, no, don't, because you might make the world worse.
Well, that's the warning against pseudo activity.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The very thing you're doing is obsessionalist in the sense of like your very frenetic activity is guaranteeing that nothing actually changes.
Right.
And so that's why Slavoj is like, sometimes the most radical thing to do is nothing. Subtract yourself from the situation.
Yep.
And reevaluate.
Yep.
And so before we wrap up, because we talked about it at first, I think it's
the Raja
main thing we haven't really, we should probably talk about that before we end, right?
So
you want to give people like the synopsis of it?
Yeah. So last week, I think it was last week, there was a live streamer who died on stream in France, and he was like living in a house with dudes and they abused him and he died in his sleep, I guess, but it was live. I don't know. But it was dude died on live stream. And I was like, damn, that's dark. It's happened before. It won't be the last time, but the way it happened was especially dark because he was living in a house
Do
with.
you remember the name of the veteran who blew his head off with a fucking shotgun on stream? You remember that
No.
guy's name? I mean, I'm just saying that to say it's shit. Crazy shit's happened before on stream, but
Yeah, and will continue to happen. But in this case, they were like living in a house, and it was like a group of dudes abusing this guy, and they abused him to death basically. And it was like the chat was a part of it. The chat was like egging him on, and it's really dark and twisted. And then like 2 or 3 days later, Raja Jackson, Curtis Rampage Jackson, Curtis. Did I just confuse him with 50 Cent?
Curtis, you might have.
I might have confused him with 50 Cent. Anyway, Rampage Jackson.
I just know him as Rampage.
Yeah, MMA fighter. His son was on live stream. He went to an indie wrestling promotion. He was out back. One of the wrestlers thought he was part of the show because he had cameras and live stream equipment. So he went up to do a work. He went up to hit him, do a little gimmick. Raja was not in on it, so he got upset. They worked it out. They shook hands. They apologized. And then the promoter even agreed to let Raja come up into the ring and do a spot. And they were like, well, let's make it and get his receipt. Let's make it a gimmick. Let's make it part of the show. So everyone at that point was on the same page and they agreed.
Can I just say, hold on. Just if you don't know, receipt means like a way of getting your revenge. So,
payback,
for example,
unquote.
there's a famous moment in the WWE when this really big guy named Braun Strowman, he did something a little too physical or unrestrained with Brock Lesnar, and Brock just punches him in the chin. And it was okay because wrestlers will do this from time to time as like, hey, bud, check yourself. What you did was not safe. That was overzealous. You kind of hurt me.
Yeah.
And you get them the receipt, not so much as payback, but as an alert, like, dude, wake the fuck up. Okay. So this promoter is hyping up Raja, saying you can get your receipt. And this dude's not a wrestler. He doesn't know what that actually means when wrestlers do that, because wrestlers have a familiarity with that situation. This dude doesn't have that, and this dude ain't cut from that cloth.
No. So he's sitting there. He's on the sideline, or he's waiting, and the whole time.
And he is a trained MMA fighter.
Yeah, he's an MMA fighter. The whole time he's sitting there talking to his chat on live stream, because the whole thing was live streamed. And his chat's like amping him up and sizing him up and like calling him a bitch and saying, you won't do shit. You're a bitch. You're not going to do anything about it. Roger's like, no, watch. I'm going to go in. I'm going to slam him. I'm going to punch him. I'm going to fuck him up. Like, and he's just escalating. And there's this circuit of jouissance. And there's this thing where for the audience, these are all like youngish, toxic, largely males who are getting off on Raja being kind of like their collective avatar, because they're not out in the world. They're at home watching a live stream. They're miserable. They're unhappy. So they're funneling all their toxicity into Raja.
They're treating, like you said, he's an avatar in the way that these guys will use an avatar in Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
To do all kinds of fucked up shit they wish they could do in real life, but can't.
Yep. And
but
Raja's
he's a flesh and blood avatar.
Raja's all amped up. He's all sized up. He's all ready to go. And he jumps in the ring. And instead of doing the work I don't even think they had to work. Like he's like, I'll go in and hit you or whatever. Like it was indie. It wasn't.
This is why the promoter is a fucking dipshit. Yeah. You're just going to let this guy go in. He's had no training. He doesn't know wrestling. Like you just let a guy hop in the ring.
Yeah.
Do you know how much work these celebrities have to put in before WWE will let them do a spot?
Dude, I worked for an indie wrestling promotion in Salt Lake City, and we put on like 4 days of show every month. So like once a month there was like 4 days of wrestling. But that entire month, people are working out, people are rehearsing, people like it's a fucking full-time job for a lot of these guys. They're professionals. It's professional wrestling. Like,
Let me put it to you like this. My mom, she owned a dance studio my whole life. Her entire year with her dancers training and preparing was for the 2 nights of the recital. And
Yep.
this is true of all dance schools. You go ask anybody who's at a dance school, they'll tell you this. They prepare all year
yep,
for 2 or 3 nights, which,
Yep.
okay, so you have your recitals and then you have your dance competitions. But all in all, your whole year is for 3 or 4 nights
Yeah.
together.
yeah. So he gets in
And
the
so
ring.
the same with wrestling.
Yeah, it's a highly skilled activity. So Raja gets in the ring, picks the dude up, slams him down, and just starts fucking wailing on him.
Well, and he slams him down like this, right? If you watch the clip closely, the wrestler is knocked unconscious
he's
just
out.
by his head
His head
hitting
bouncing.
the mat.
His head
So
bounces.
he's knocked out just by throwing him down.
Yeah.
Then Raja proceeds to
wail on him and just punch him
about
over and
27
over.
times from a trained fighter who knows how to punch.
Dude winds up in the hospital. I think he's going to live. But he's still in bad shape.
So from the reports I saw, the people who were there said he flatlined in the ring.
Yep.
Because they had to do CPR on him because Raja knocked out so many teeth in the guy. He broke many of his facial bones, but he also knocked out so many teeth that Stu was choking to death on his own blood.
Jeez.
So the people there said he flatlined. They had to do CPR. They got him on a gurney and got him out of there as quickly as possible. The miracle of this that I don't understand, and this is not me giving any of these wrestlers shit. I just don't understand. I don't know how Raja made it out of that ring
alive
without being
or unscathed.
Alive.
Unscathed.
Really, because if you look at old footage of what happened, like there would be crazy fans who hop the guardrails and try to attack Triple H or Stone Cold, and the other wrestlers in the ring beat these dudes because you don't know, they could have a knife, they could have like, as a fan, I am a lifelong wrestling fan. You don't fucking cross that line.
Yeah.
And you get whatever you get if you do that.
Yep.
I'm sorry, don't do, wrestling's fake. Okay, you fuck around with Triple H and Stone Cold and The Rock in their prime and see how fucking fake it is if you try to hop the fucking rail and attack them.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. All those indie wrestlers at that show, I just attribute it to they were in shock.
Yep.
That they knew there was a work. They didn't know the specificity of the work. But thank God the guy with the dreads or the pink hair had enough sense to tackle him, because that dude was not going to stop.
That guy saved
Raja
his
was
life.
going to kill him.
He saved his life.
It was, and I'm sorry, it was attempted murder.
It definitely was attempted murder, especially because he's on stream talking about it, and he enters this feedback loop with the chat, and this is the thing we've been talking about it since it happened.
Dimension of it.
And there have been probably a lot of people giving commentary, but like we watched some commentary, Abin preach, and like watched some of the people talking about it, and I think a lot of people have good feedback. There's definitely
the other one, the Cartier family. Those guys.
the Cartier guys. Like I like the fact that they brought up the race thing, because it is. I mean, we were talking about like that is an element, like the race thing, the race dynamic comes into play. People see a loud black person and they automatically think he's dangerous, and like that's a racialized thing. So it's good people are talking about it. People are talking about like Rampage treated him like shit, and he has other kids, and he saved up bail money for Raja, but he saved up college money for his other kids.
Yeah, but there's a lot of parents that treat a lot of kids like shit, and their kids don't do that. I'm sorry, this is the G-Jack thing about serial killers.
Right.
Like, okay, so Richard Ramirez and Jeffrey Dahmer and these guys, they all went through these things when they were young, and they have these commonalities, and people go, oh, see, it made them serial killers. But Slavoy's point is, yeah, but there's a million kids that went through those exact same things and didn't become serial killers.
Yeah.
So you didn't really explain anything about why these guys did what they did.
I think
this is where you get to the singularity of the subject. It's all of these singular dynamics that go into Raja's life that act like you can have a shitty dad and you're not going to beat somebody to death in the
Yeah.
ring. Like so
Well, and I think
because
that
people will do, oh, it's just Rampage's fault. I mean,
he probably wasn't the greatest dad, but also no, like I think it's Raja's fault, but it's also the platform's fault. Kick, it's also the promoter's fault for all that
and
shit.
we think
But
in structural terms. Part of this is just the medium
yeah,
of this. And so, look, I said it's super ego, not death drive. Why did I say that? Super egoic cyber positivity. Well, cyber positivity has to do with positive feedback loops, where the elements that are spurring the loop to continue are amplifying it in intensity and growth. And the thing is, when you get into these kind of Lacanian dynamics, so on the one hand, I say it's super egoic because the chat is the law
yeah,
for Raja. He's trying to build his platform. He's trying to build his status. He's not trying to just. I know it sounds great. People could go, it's death drive. This is him destroying his life.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think that misses the point. What he's actually trying to do in this fucked up way, this obscene way, is build his status
yep,
in the eyes of his law,
yep,
which is his chat, his followers, his audience.
yep,
And so he has this figure of the law goading him on to what? Enjoy.
yep,
Go hit the motherfucker. Go get your fucking lick. Go get your receipt. It is. I know nobody's like writing the enjoy exclamation mark, but the whole point of the super egoic enjoy is it happens without that fucking word actually being in the situation.
yeah,
It is what you're goading them on. And so no, it's like, no, not only is it goading him to enjoy, it's goading him to enjoy from the status of an authority figure expressing the demand.
yeah,
It's saying it is right for you, it is moral for you to show that motherfucker you're not a bitch.
yep,
Go enjoy. And he gave in. He felt this pressure to do this thing because he's attuned to the desire of the other. Well, the desire of the other in this case is his fucking chat.
yep,
And so his desire, if everybody had been talking him down, saying, "Man, it ain't worth it. You're just starting your MMA career. You got so much to live for." We left this out. The wrestler before the match even started, they had a heart to heart. Like he
yeah,
apologized. He said, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize you're not a worker. I didn't realize you're not a wrestler.
yeah,
I thought you were part of the gimmick or whatever. My bad. I apologize." And Raja like gave him daps and said, "Okay, no problem."
yep,
Which, okay, I've seen some of the other guys in the commentaries make this. Dude, if you're really about that life, if you want to really do the fucking tough guy thing, you fight him right there on the
yeah,
spot.
yeah, yeah,
But you made up with him. You buried it.
yep,
And then you're going to let your chat amp you back up. And, you're going to let the promoter amp you back up when the shit was handled and figured out and squashed. And so you're going to sneak your attack. You're
yep,
not going to just say, "Hey, I got a fucking problem with what you did to me. Fuck you." No, it's this sneaky, "Oh, I'm going to take advantage of the fucking work and then make it go real." And shit, real in the Lacanian sense.
yeah,
Fucking traumatic eruption of,
yeah,
yeah. And so it's just, to me, I see it as completely a super egoic dynamic, not death drive.
yeah.
He was, I don't, because you're saying, I don't think he spontaneously was taking this ethical stand of like, I'm demanding this thing no matter what it does to me, right? In the way Antigone was. No, it's, I'm doing this because the authority is goading me on
No,
to
and
enjoy, and I feel this pressure.
that's the thing, and I think like it's a problem with the medium primarily. And I think we're going to see more and more of this stuff. I mean, we have been seeing more and more of this stuff.
The medium is super egoic.
There's all kinds of examples of live streamers doing more and more obscene shit for their chat. And like the dynamic in the chat is you egg them on, you egg them on, you egg them on, you goad them. Or you say, "You're not about that life. You're not really going to do it, this and that." You put that pressure on them. And I think it's just going to get worse. I think we're going to see more and more examples of shit like this, like the dude dying on stream, like Raja, like live streamers going out and just doing horribly inhuman things, because that's the world we live in now. Like we don't have a social, we don't have anything binding us together. We're all out here trying to produce ourselves in this weird fucked up simulation, and it's sad and it's scary and it's avoidable. It's all avoidable. Doesn't have to be this way.
So, and my thing is, this is to me though, I've seen people when something tragic like this happens, they go, "This isn't the time for theory," and I just fundamentally go, "No, this is
exactly when we need to.
Exactly the time for it." And so, superego is at play.
Yep.
The superego is the chat.
Yep.
What is at play in Raja's personal dynamic is his relation to the phallus.
Yeah.
He constantly kept saying after the incident, there's video of him. Everybody calls me a bitch. I ain't a bitch.
Yep.
And it's constantly him feeling like he's not man enough. He's not the man. And he had to do some extreme, heinous, primal father shit to prove that he has the phallus. And all he fucking did for the whole world to see is prove that he doesn't have the fucking phallus. And nobody does.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sorry, like I'm telling you, as a guy who grew up in the 80s with the old school mindset, the 80s and 90s, where you got to be fucking tough and it's heavy metal and it's hip hop. And I love both of those to this day, but there's elements of them that are completely phallus oriented that don't help anything.
Yep.
And you have to learn to unthink that shit and unlearn that shit to the best of your ability. Look, my spontaneous default setting, I've learned how to outgrow it in so many ways and show restraint. In the right situation, can I be a phallic idiot? Yeah, probably.
Sure.
If somebody approaches me in the wrong way in the wrong day. But the point is to learn to deal with this shit as a guy, as a man, to the best of your ability. And I wish, I'm not joking. Like, I truly believe that Lacan has a way to help young men in particular right now.
Yep.
If they understand the workings of the phallus, why we do what we do as guys, and understand that it's bullshit, and that there's a much deeper bond to be made through identification with common lack. We're both lacking. We can never embody this phallic ideal. It's fucking bullshit. That's where real bonds are made, is through identifying on the basis of lack. Like, I'm castrated in this. I know, if somebody who doesn't know Lacan, that sounds funny. I just go, I'm castrated. It just means, I mean, literally castrated. That's Freud.
Yeah.
For Lacan, it means I'm lacking. I'm not all powerful. I'm not all knowing. I'm not all present. I'm vulnerable. I can be touched. Like hip hop, and I got to say this, hip hop's also great at showing you the other side. That doesn't get emphasized enough, but like hip hop will say, like, you know, remember you can be touched. It gives you this reminder of like, dude, you're not invincible.
Yep.
You're not all powerful. You're not a god. You're a flesh and blood human being who's, you know, vulnerable and capable of undergoing serious injury and death.
Yep.
So don't walk around acting like you have the phallus, like you're the all-powerful, exceptional man over and above all the rest of us lacking men.
Yep.
Because sooner or later, some dude who's dead set on proving that he's the man is going to fucking take you out.
There's always a bigger fish. And that's where
that fucking logic goes.
There's always a bigger fish.
Raja he's caught up with phallus bullshit, and it's being amplified and exploited by the superegoic chat.
Yep.
And this is where Lacan and Zizek can make sense of something like this in a way that I don't think a lot of other theory can.
Yeah.
And this is why I use this shit every single day of my life to make sense of what's going on at the coffee shop I'm at, what's going on at the job I'm at, what's going on at the grocery store I'm at, right? It makes sense of the movie I'm watching.
Yep.
And this is the beauty and power of theory, is to make shit make sense that otherwise wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. And on that note, friends and family, we'll end this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us on this weekend update. That definitely
that isn't really a weekend.
Yeah.
And Maybe it'll come out the weekend, maybe not, maybe
Yeah.
before. But
Yeah.
I had fun doing this. I kind of think we should do this more often where, we have do this once a month or something where
Yeah. Just like a
random
less
super quick
formal
about
kind
Rogue.
of talk about the week in review, the month in review, whatever.
Hmm. I mean, because we do this every day behind the scenes. Like we
Yeah.
just check in and go, "What
Talk
are you
about
watching?
shit.
What's going on?" Yeah.
Yep.
And so I do want to say, guys, there's a book I just started. Nance is waiting to get his copy.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out. These guys here, uh, Roberto Alonso Trillo and Merrick Polix. Guys, if I'm butchering your names, I'm sorry. I've talked to these guys on social media and they're super cool. This is their book, Exocapitalism. And I had heard about it for a long time. And my chat had pressured me. I don't want to joke about that, but it's also true. I've had a lot of people on social media pressure me to get this book and read it. And I'm really glad they did.
Yeah.
Um, because this is one hell of a book. I wish I could like show you just how cool like the inside is.
Yeah, dude.
Like it's just super cool and artistic but where's the one endorsement? Hold on.
Let me pull. I have the PDF. Let me pull up the PDF.
Where's so I'm not sure who Auntie is, but this is the blurb from Auntie.
Hmm.
A masterpiece, Nick Land for adults.
Yeah.
And so my friend Maria, because her and I were talking about it, I'm like, what do you think that like, okay, it catches your attention and you're like, okay, all right, what does that actually mean? And she was like, I think it actually means Nick Land minus the occult. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a good interpretation of that. But look at the very back. I mean, this sounds like something that's straight out of Land, right? Capitalism does not belong to humans.
Yeah.
And so I am still 1/3 of the way through. I don't feel like I've gotten to the real core of their theory yet, but it is a incredible new book about capitalism and how it is this alien entity, so to
Yep.
speak, but less Landian. Like, where is that one? Because there's another good blurb that kind of gets at the heart. Well, maybe it's in. Hold on, I think I can find it real quick. I think it's their own words. Uh, Here, look, they say our cosmology also gropes longingly at Nick Land, neither as a prophet nor as a critic, but as an apostate to human agency as it wrestles unthinkingly with the great outdoors. For us, capitalism is very much a part of that great outdoors, that antipathetic shadowverse of big things, impossibly alien things, but things whose autonomy as such is not a dark curtain, but rather an invitation for study and interpretation according to its own internal logics.
Hmm.
So they view capital as part of the outside, and yet they're going to do something different with it than what Nick did.
Yeah.
And I think it's even less impersonal because look, Land does. That's why we talk about Robo Cthulhu,
Yeah.
right? There is this way like capital is Cthulhu or capital is, going to be supreme artificial super intelligence. I think they view it even more like a virus
Yeah.
or, an impersonal algorithm. And so it's less of but still deeply influenced by Land. So I'm loving it so far. I don't feel like I've gotten to the heart of it yet, but yeah, these are guys that, I love people doing this type of theory.
Yeah.
And, I think it's cool that they're unapologetically influenced by Land
Yep.
and just say, look, we can be influenced by this guy and not agree with him on everything or on politics and
Fancy
still
that.
recognize that he's made this contribution we have to think through. And so, yeah, I just want to give a shout out to them. And hopefully one day we get to have a conversation with
Yeah,
them. I
man.
think we would
I
have a whole lot to talk about.
yeah, I would love to talk to these guys. For sure.
So, all right,
Um,
everybody.
all right, guys. Well, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. And
Watch a good movie.
yeah, watch
Oh, okay.
Daryl.
That's our.
Daryl.
We're gonna steal a page out of Todd and Ryan's book, and so is a Nance. What's the lesson? To watch Daryl,
Yeah,
which we didn't mention at all.
we didn't bring it up at all. We'll bring it up next time.
But you got to go. If you guys look, it's an acronym. D period.
Yeah.
Right.
Data acquisition and recording youth life form or something like that.
You're so much more of a real
DARYL.
80s kid than me.
Yeah, it's it's a good fucking movie. We'll talk about it because I think we're gonna
do an analysis of it. So
yeah,
and actually, Nance beat me to it. So I told him, I'm like, man, I saw this movie when I was a kid. I had to be like 8 years old. And it was one that I rented one day at Video Biz, which was my local mom and pop video store. And I watched it once and was like, that's cool. And then young me just didn't connect to it. It wasn't one of my, in the heart of, young me. And so I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but something made me think about it the other day. And I'm like, damn, like that is one. I got to see if Nance saw that. So Nance went and watched it. Now I'm going to watch it tonight. So at some point we'll do an interpretation of it.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Peace.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah. Don't give up.